In this video, we're going to try to solve this inequality. So here, basically, we're looking for the values of x that would make this inequality true. Okay, we can square both sides and do all the things that we need. But before that, we're going to see where this writing or this expression is valid. So here we need to have two conditions. First, we need to have the square root bigger than 0. And 1 minus the square root of x is bigger than 0. Here, to have square root of x has to be different or bigger than 0. Here, we need to have x bigger than 0. In fact, because this condition here, having the square root of x bigger than 0 means that x is bigger than 0. Therefore, we have these two conditions. So now we have x bigger than 0 and 1 minus square root of x bigger than 0. This will give us that 1 is bigger than the square root of x. But given that x is bigger than 0, then the square root of x is bigger than 0. And therefore, if we take just the square root or just square everything here, we get that x is in 0, 1. Okay? So here, to have a sense for this one, we need to have x be in the interval 0, 1. Okay? Now we see that when x is between 0 and 1, we can, without squaring anything, we can just see that this one is decreasing. So 1 minus square root of x. So when x is 1, so we have 0. When x is 0, we have 1. Okay? So in fact, so this one never exceeds 1. Okay? To see that, okay, so we have x is between 0 and 1. Therefore, we have this condition here. The square root of x is between 0 and the square root of 1, which is 1. And if we take a minus here, we're going to have minus 1 is less than minus the square root of x is less than 0. And adding 1 to both sides, we have 1 minus 1. 1 minus square root of 1 is less than 1. So we have this one here is trapped between 0 and 1. And once we take the square root, we see that we have this one is always between 0 and 1. And therefore, it can't be bigger than 2. Okay? For all these values of x between 0 and 1. So this one is always false. So there is no solution here. So the set of solution is the empty set. Okay? There is no x that would satisfy this inequality. Okay? If you are not convinced, and if you have a calculator, you can do it this way. So a sketch of the square root of 1 minus square root of x. When x is 0, it's going to be 1. When x is 1, it's going to be 0. So it's going to look something like this. Okay? So this is our function. If we think of it as a function, this one, and 2 is here. Let's say this is y equals 2. So we see that 2 on top of this one here, it's never touching it, or they are crossing each other, or this one is above the 2 on some interval. So it's always less than, so this one is always less than 2. And therefore, this is false for all x's between 0 and 1. And therefore, the set of solutions is just the empty set. There is no solution. Okay? And this means that using this technique, we found the solution. If we had to square or both sides, what we're going to have is we're going to have the 1 minus square root of x is bigger than 4, and minus square root of x is bigger than 3, and therefore the square root of x is less than 3. Okay? But this is never going to happen. Okay? So because the square root, let me graph it here. This is the square root minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So that means this one is less, it's below minus 3, but it's never happening. So it's the opposite. It's the square root that's on top of the minus 3. Therefore, there is no solution here. Okay? So the empty set. So even if we square both sides, we get the same result. Okay? So this is one way of solving the this one. Other ways would be to transform this one into something like this, the square root of 1 minus y, with y being positive. Okay, and see that this graph is never gonna be above 0. Do it. This one is a good way to solve this problem. But anyways, so this is 2 quick ways of solving this kind of questions. If you see any errors or mistakes, please let me know so we can fix it. Thank you very much.